Hey there, sweet mama. Welcome to this video where I'm going to share the one tool that is going to change your entire life. We are going to talk about why this tool works so quickly and effectively in getting you unstuck. But first, we have to talk about the problem of being stuck. The most common issue we have is that we get stuck in cycles of our life. We want to make changes, we want to do things differently, but we aren't able to get the results that we want because we get stuck. For some of you, this manifests as perfectionism and feeling like you have to do everything perfectly all the time. Having a perfectly clean house, doing your job perfectly, raising your kids perfectly, and having perfect relationships. For others, it may manifest as people pleasing and feeling like you have to say yes even when you want to say no. It shows up as doing something that you know isn't serving you just a little bit too much. It's not causing huge problems in your life, but it's keeping you stuck. For some of you, this is in your relationships. Maybe you felt stuck in your marriage, and now that you're divorced, you're confused why you still feel stuck. Or maybe you keep arguing with your ex about the same things and you want to make the relationship better, but you feel like you just can't change it. Maybe it's the relationship with yourself, that you don't want to be alone, or that you have high expectations of yourself. And when you don't think you're doing things perfectly, you judge and doubt yourself. For some of you, this shows up in your relationship with your kids, yelling at them or being short tempered when they don't listen, but feeling guilty afterwards because you know that you were partly upset about something else and taking it out on them. So those relationships feel stuck. And for others, it's in your emotional life. You feel like you're stuck in resentment or anger. Or for some of you, it's overwhelm, confusion, and self doubt. But this issue with being stuck has become a chronic problem for so many people. The misfortune that I see in so many of my clients is that they don't take this stuckness seriously enough. They think it's normal to feel stuck. I want to offer you it doesn't have to be normal, that these problems don't have to be something that you live with. Many of you have given up on trying to solve them, and it's because the ways that you have tried to solve them haven't worked. And that's why this one tool I'm going to teach you, called the model, is going to show you how you can actually change and prevent yourself from being stuck ever again if you use this one tool. So let's talk about how you've tried to solve these problems in the past. What most of us do is we go out there and look at the symptoms, and then we try to go out into the world and manipulate it and change it. So, for example, a symptom of living after living alone after divorce is feeling lonely, right? So we'll look at that symptom and then we desperately try to go and find another person to date so we don't have to be alone with ourselves. If the problem is yelling at our kids or arguing with our ex, we try to yell a little less or avoid talking to our ex. Or if we want to feel less overwhelmed, we try to implement a bunch of new routines and we overload our day with all of these to-do lists, right? Does this sound familiar? Although those things might work in the short term, they're never going to get us unstuck in the long term. And the reason why is because they're not treating the cause of the problem. What they're doing is treating the symptom. And so that requires us to go after those problems with willpower. So if you've ever tried to fix a problem where you're feeling stuck, you'll notice that it's not sustainable, right? Like if you hate being alone, you have to find something to fill every gap in your daily schedule. If you want to feel less anger and resentment, you have to control how often you interact with your ex. Or if you're trying to yell at your kids less, you need to change how they behave by bribing them and threatening them. And if you want to feel less self doubt, you drown out your inner critic with noise all day long. You try to control all the outside circumstances, but what happens is you just get tired. And not only that, but you start to believe that it's just not possible to change. You start to look at all the things in your life that you've tried to change that haven't worked, and you get frustrated and discouraged. Some of you have gone online looking for answers, which can be very overwhelming and very confusing. There are so many different solutions. Like if you Google a solution and how to feel more confident or how to set appropriate boundaries, you are going to get so many different answers and approaches. Or maybe you want to feel more calm by starting a meditation routine or using positive affirmations. but you don't even know where to start. Now, if you're anything like me, you want to try all of them. And so not only are you going to try to use willpower and create a whole bunch of new habits, but you're also going to try to study all these different approaches and do all of them 100% at the same time. What you find is that nothing changes. You've now spent all your time trying to do all of this, but you're exhausted and you have the same exact result. Maybe you had a little bit of progress and you were unstuck for a little bit, but now you're right back to where you started and feeling super discouraged. Many of my clients have come to me feeling like, I've already tried everything. Nothing is working. I still feel totally stuck. And I want to challenge the belief that you've tried everything. And I want to challenge the belief that it has to be hard. I have one tool that I have used to change my entire life. All of my clients are absolutely loving it and are having amazing results with it. My client Nicole said, throughout my time with Stephanie, she helped me to start to trust myself and realize that the decisions I made were just decisions, and I didn't need to put so much pressure on whether they were right or wrong. I now feel less paralyzed, waiting for perfection in all of my decisions in my life. And I find that taking action is happening more naturally, and I'm actually moving forward. I'm so grateful to Stephanie for helping me learn to trust myself and to feel confident that I can handle whatever life throws at me. There is an unexpected sense of ease that comes from trusting yourself. And I now feel as though I'm prepared for any challenge I face. And Dana said, Stephanie has changed my life. When I got divorced, I felt alone and broken. She has helped me feel whole again and able to be happy and fulfilled even when I'm by myself. And Anna said she helped me to see how some deep rooted beliefs that I didn't know existed have been holding me back both in my professional and personal life. With great love, support, and gentle probing, she has helped me to work on the beliefs I hold that have been such a limitation to my personal growth. I know the work we are doing now and continue to do will have lifelong implications as I continue to uncover what has been holding me back. So, what is it about this tool that makes it so effective, so fast, and different from all the other tools? This tool, called the model, takes into account that our brains are completely overloaded with information. We're motivated to make changes, we want to make changes, and so we're going out and just adding more and more information without knowing how to organize it and without knowing which approach to take. This tool simplifies all of it. It takes all the information available to us that is overwhelming our brain, and it makes it very simple. For anyone who feels stuck, it's only because of one of 5 reasons. There are only 5 problems you can have in the entire world. And those 5 problems are all categorized in this tool, the model. So you either have a problem with your circumstance that is happening in your life, you have a problem with the way that you are thinking, you have a problem with the way you are feeling, you have a problem with what you are doing or the result you are getting. That's it. There are only 5. And when you're able to filter the information from the world based into these 5 categories, you're able to identify not just the symptom of your problem, but the cause. It's super important for you to understand what's causing you to be stuck. Not just stuck and the effect of being stuck, but what is ultimately causing it. This tool identifies the cause and identifies it quickly. For some of you, you may feel like, how will this solve my problem? I'm different. There's something wrong with me, for sure, right? So many of my clients have come to me thinking that there's something wrong with them. The only problem you have is that you have a human brain. Unfortunately, the evolution of the human brain hasn't kept up with our current environment. So if you think about the brain, it is still designed to be in a cave. It's primed for survival, to keep you alive. And our brain is still functioning based on the motivational triad. It's always seeking pleasure, trying to avoid pain, and trying to be super efficient. And that makes sense for back in the day when there was very little pleasure. a lot of pain, and our brain needed to be efficient because it needed to survive. Fast forward to today, we have way more pleasure than we know what to do with. We have really super easy ways to avoid pain. And we have so many things in the world that make us efficient that we actually have to push our brain to work a little bit harder in order to achieve the things that we want. So if you feel like you just don't have enough energy, if you feel like you're spending way too much time seeking pleasure, and if you feel like you genuinely want to avoid pain, that's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's because that what your brain is literally programmed to do, that's what your brain's literally programmed to do. The way that this tool works is that it addresses the way your brain has evolved, and it helps you gently and easily switch that around so you can utilize the way your brain has evolved to create the results that you want. So when you understand that your brain is immediately going to seek pleasure, and there are so many ways to seek pleasure, you can be ahead of it. You can have a plan for it. And when you know that it's going to avoid pain, you can ease it into the journey that will maybe make it a little uncomfortable, but will ultimately give you those long term results that you really want. Being stuck in this day and age is actually expected. It's your brain functioning exactly the way it was designed to. There is nothing wrong with you. Just because you've made lots of attempts doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you've been doing it the wrong way. Like you've been going about it the wrong way. So you've been getting too much information and overwhelming your brain. You haven't been utilizing the knowledge of the motivational triad and these 5 simple problems that can only happen in your brain to be able to solve it. So once you understand the model, you can never go back to not understanding it. It's a beautiful thing. I can show you exactly how to start utilizing this model in your own life. Below this video, you will see a link for a free call where we will talk about where you're stuck right now and how to use the model to create the life you've always wanted. It doesn't matter where you're stuck. You can totally do this, and I can help. Click below to set up your personal call with me, and let's get started.